Discover the incredible ways 10,000 people thrived in Iron Age Scandinavia over 2,000 years ago. The words jumped off the page and grabbed Sarah's attention as if they were alive. She was knee-deep in cardboard boxes at the community center, sorting through stacks of donations for a yard sale, and suddenly found herself transported to a time filled with heroism and based on deep community bonds. Could lessons from the past help her now? She felt a tightness in her chest as she thought of her children, Ethan and Mia, at home, missing their dad. The same man who had promised to be their rock while stationed so far away. But right now, Sarah was struggling to hold things together. Ethan's laughter used to echo through their small, cozy home, but now the silence felt deafening. House cleaning and shifts at the diner consumed Sarah's day, leaving little energy to connect with her children. Every time she saw Mia sulk in a corner, or when Ethan lashed out over something trivial, Sarah's heart sank a little more. She wished she could be there for them, but exhaustion loomed like a dark cloud. And just as the glow of hope flickered with the newfound discovery, it dimmed with each passing day's struggles. Looking around the community center, Sarah recalled how generations of people rose together. Their unity meant survival. Shouldn't it be the same for a small town like hers? Feeling an ember ignite in her chest, she decided to reach out. Perhaps community gatherings that invited both longtime residents and the new immigrant families could bridge the widening chasm between them. It was a crazy idea, but for once, there was warmth in her heart. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The following week, townsfolk gathered in the community center, sharing food and stories. At first, there was hesitance, laughter felt fragile in the air. But slowly, as the aroma of baked goods filled the room, walls began to crumble. They were all just looking for belonging. Ethan and Mia found a little spark again, a sense of connection shone brighter than the dimness they had felt before. Yet, just as things began to turn, Mr. Thompson, a powerful council member, stormed in, his booming voice cutting through the hushed room. He criticized the community center's funding, labeling Sarah's efforts as wasteful, igniting a storm of anger and fear. Sarah's heart raced as whispers turned into heated exchanges. The room filled with tension, neighbor against neighbor, and for every camaraderie built, a scab was pulled off someone's wound. Just when she thought she had created something beautiful, it was all spiraling down. Then came the day she received the call Ethan had gotten into serious trouble at school. The sinking feeling in her stomach took her breath away. Gripping the phone, tears pricked at her eyes. How much had she missed? The world around her seemed to blur as she wondered if her efforts were enough, both as a mother and as a member of her community. She stood on the precipice of despair, heart racing with urgency. Would they come together to face this turmoil, or would the fractures tear them apart forever? As doubt seeped in, hope flickered in her heart, lighting the challenging path ahead. What would it take to truly unite them? Sarah's heart thudded painfully in her chest as she hung up the phone. The news of Ethan's trouble at school weighed on her like a heavy anchor, pulling her down into deep waters. She paced the small room of the community center, the echoes of laughter from earlier now an uncomfortable reminder of what could slip away. She took a deep breath, willing herself to be strong, but each inhale felt like a struggle against the suffocating despair that had taken root inside her. Behind her, Mia sat quietly in a chair, her thumbs dancing across the screen of her phone, oblivious to her mother's turmoil. Sarah glanced at her daughter and felt another pang of guilt. She had promised herself that this gathering meant something, that it would bring them all closer together. But ever since Eddie left, the fabric of their family felt frayed. Was it all unraveling now? Hey, Bud, can you tell me what happened? Sarah's voice was softer than she intended, but it came out with a weight that made Ethan look up from the floor. He squirmed, avoiding her gaze. As always, it made Sarah feel helpless. "It was just a fight, Mom, it just happened," he mumbled, his voice barely breaking through the tension that clung to the air. "Just a fight?" she replied, allowing the bite in her tone to emerge. "You can't pick fights at school. You know that." A newfound flush filled his cheeks, and his eyes glistened with embarrassment. The fight wasn't just about scrapes and bruises, it was about frustration, loneliness. Sarah could see that now. The anger inside her simmered down to a flicker of understanding. "Let us talk about it. I don't want you to feel like you have to fight. You can come to me," she said more gently. Despite everything, she wanted him to know he could trust her. They needed a way back to each other. Suddenly, the door burst open again, and Mr. Thompson waltzed in, the air around him charged. He looked around the room as if surveying a battlefield. "I hope this doesn't interfere with my plans for the funding cuts," he announced, his tone dripping with disdain. Murmurs rippled through the small crowd. Sarah stood taller, determination replacing her earlier defeat. "Mr. Thompson, I think we need to focus on building community, not tearing it apart." Her voice wavered slightly, but she pushed on. "I know you care about this town. Why not come together to strengthen it?" His eyes narrowed, but he stood silent for a moment before responding. "People like you don't understand how fiscal responsibility works." His words hit like a slap, igniting the room's nervous energy. There was unrest, a growing dissatisfaction among the townsfolk palpable in the raised voices echoing around the community center. Before Sarah could regain her footing, a nearby resident shouted, "Look at what we need. We need these gatherings." The voices rallied, a tide of anger mixing with hope. With a sudden impulse, Sarah reached for Ethan and Mia, pulling them closer. "This is what matters," she said, looking into their eyes. "We are a family, and we are a community. We need to show that togetherness is our strength." Ethan stood up straighter, surprising Sarah with the confidence emerging from within him. "Yeah. If we can't stick together, what's the point?" As the room stirred, she felt a spark of hope ignite, the thrill of fight for unity coursing through her. They could face the storm as a cohesive unit. But deep inside, she felt a nagging doubt. The room vibrated with a mix of passionate voices, each person wrestling with their own fears and hopes. It was evident that Sarah was not alone. The weight of shared struggle seemed to lift the air, and for the first time that evening, Sarah felt the stirrings of a possible awakening. "Look, if Mr. Thompson wants to talk numbers, let us bring him our numbers," a voice shouted from the back. It was Clara, a widow with a fierce spirit who had become a second mother to many of the town's children, including Ethan. "We have more kids than ever coming to these gatherings. We have stories to tell and things to celebrate. We can't let him take that from us." Sarah's heart swelled. They needed Clara's fiery determination, and it bubbled to the surface like a long-dormant volcano ready to erupt. What if the town could learn to channel this anger into action? "Let us gather our successes from these meetings," Sarah said, raising her voice above the crowd. She felt emboldened, and continued, "Share what we've accomplished together. We can present that to Mr. Thompson. If he thinks numbers matter, let us show him the numbers of lives we're impacting." A wave of murmurs rose again, buzzing with ideas and excitement. Mia's head shot up from her phone and she watched her mother with wide eyes. Sarah met her gaze and for a sliver of a moment, felt the connection slowly stitching back together. "Are you guys in?" she asked, her heart racing as she put herself out there. "Let us create a report on how we're bringing this community together, how we're not just souls in a small town but a family fighting for each other." "Yes," Ethan echoed, his voice stronger now, as if shedding the weight of guilt. "And we should have a talent show. Show all of the amazing skills we have." Sarah laughed, the sound surprisingly freeing. "Yes. A talent show sounds perfect. We'll put together a celebration." It ignited that spark even more, a vision of joy blossoming in the bleakness. They could showcase their talents, food, music, and stories, proving that despite their struggles, they were on the verge of something greater. The crowd responded enthusiastically, urging one another to contribute. Ideas flew around like confetti: a bake sale, a mural representing the town's history, a community garden. It was spontaneous and beautiful, a transformation from despair into delight. But beneath her exhilaration, a whisper of caution curled around her heart. What if they fell short? What if Mr. Thompson dismissed their efforts? As each participant shared their idea, Sarah couldn't help but wonder if the real fight was not just against the funding cuts, but the deep-rooted fear of being unheard. Suddenly, her phone buzzed in her pocket, pulling her back from the flurry of excitement. She pulled it out and stared at the screen, confusion clouding her thoughts. It was a message from Eddie, his name flashing like a warning light, surprising her after months of silence. "Mom, we need to talk. It's important." Her breath hitched. In that moment, all the noise of the room faded away. This was the crucial moment she had been hoping for, but it came wrapped in uncertainty. Would he come back into their lives with reasons for hope, or was it a deeper issue they'd need to address? She turned back to Ethan, Mia, and the growing crowd, uncertainty gnawing at her. Could they really turn the tide for their community if she wasn't sure about her own family? The energy buzzing in the room shimmered around her, and with every heartbeat, Sarah felt a new urgency. It was time to take a leap, not just for the community, but for her family as well. And as she steeled herself to face the conversation with Eddie, one burning thought lingered: would this be the turning point, or another heartache waiting to happen? The weight of Sarah's phone felt heavier in her hand as she stood in the vibrant room, absorbing the excitement around her yet feeling a storm brewing within. She took a deep breath, trying to clear her mind. Clara was busy organizing volunteers for the talent show, while Mia and Ethan grinned and threw ideas back and forth. But behind the laughter and enthusiasm, Sarah's worries swirled. She hadn't heard from Eddie in so long. His message had pierced through the joyful atmosphere like a dark cloud. The thought of facing him brought a mixture of dread and hope. What could possibly be so important? Was this a lesson he had learned the hard way, or just a plea for reconciliation? "Mom." Mia broke through Sarah's thoughts, her eyes full of curiosity. "What's wrong?" Sarah forced a smile. "Nothing, honey. Just thinking about everything we have to do for the show. People are counting on us," Ethan said, recalling the growing momentum of their plans. "We're all in this together, right?" A part of Sarah wanted to share her worries with them, to let them know how heavy the uncertainty hung in her heart. But she couldn't risk shattering the spirit they had just ignited. "Absolutely. We'll work together. Right?" She glanced around the room, feeling the warmth of the crowd echoing her words. As the evening wore on, they began to break into smaller groups, brainstorming ideas for the talent show. Laughter erupted when Ethan suggested a pie-eating contest, and Clara's brilliant idea of a preparation day for the older folks to teach children their skills took the crowd's imagination by storm. With each shared laugh and idea, Sarah felt a thread of hope unfurl within her, even as the tension surrounding Eddie loomed closer. Yet, the terrible reminder of the message tugged at her. Could she really focus on this community celebration while her own family felt so fractured? "Mom. Can we get involved with everything too?" Mia asked fervently, pulling Sarah back into the buzz of planning. The sparkle in her daughter's eye was infectious. "Of course. You both can help with everything." Sarah beamed. Her heart swelled with pride. Time flew as they worked, their voices rising together in harmony, illustrating how they could turn the event into a beautiful showcase of resilience and human spirit. Clara's mural would sparkle with stories of triumph, and the upcoming talent show promised to be a memorable night where every heart present felt alive again. But just as Sarah started feeling the warmth of the spark they had collectively ignited, her phone buzzed again, the wild beat of her heart quickening. She hesitated, staring down at Eddie's name glowing back at her. Could she hit that call button? Would this be the moment that changed everything? Or would it open a wound she wasn't ready to face again? Everything okay, Mom? Ethan's voice drifted into her thoughts, concern wrapping around her like a blanket. She turned to his eager face, inviting and hopeful, and realized that whatever the future held, she had a community waiting for her to take the plunge. I think it's time to find out, she murmured under her breath. Steeling herself, she took a deep breath and swiped her finger across the screen. The call was connecting as the room began to quiet, curiosity hanging thick in the air. And as Eddie's voice broke through the silence with a cautious, "Mom," Sarah felt the ground shift beneath her feet, holding her breath for whatever lay on the other side of that moment. Would it be healing or just another heartache? "Mom," Eddie's voice was softer than Sarah remembered. There was a fragile quality to it, like glass that might shatter at any moment. It sent a shiver down her spine. "Eddie." Her words faltered as she processed the emotions brewing inside. What was she supposed to say? "Where have you been?" "I know. I'm sorry," he replied, his voice tinged with regret. "I should have reached out sooner. I've been going through a lot. But I'm back now. I need to talk to you." A cloud of dread hung over Sarah, but the echo of his words, the promise of reconnecting, sparked something in her. "Okay. I'm listening. Can we meet?" he asked, hesitation slowing his words. "There are things I need to explain. Things I didn't want to say over the phone." Through the chatter and excitement around her, the world dimmed. The noise faded and all that remained was Eddie's request. Her heart raced, she could feel anxiety tightening around her chest. What would he say? And what would that mean for them? Where and when? She managed to ask, her voice clear but trembling with uncertainty. "Maybe the cafe on 4th. Tomorrow at 2. "I'll be there," she replied, though she couldn't shake the nervous knot in her stomach. Eddie hung up, and Sarah stood frozen, the phone still pressed to her ear. The vibrant laughter in the room surged back in, as if to remind her of the life buzzing all around. She pulled the phone away and blinked, fighting to regain her composure. "What did he say?" Clara asked, sidling up next to her, sensing a shift. "Just that he wants to meet," Sarah replied, her voice steadying despite the roar of emotions beneath the surface. "Are you okay, Mom?" Mia looked at her, concern swimming in her eyes, even as Ethan tried to lighten the mood with a joke about pie. She put on a brave face, returning her daughter's gaze. "Yeah, just figuring it all out. We still have the show to plan, right?" "Exactly. Let us not let anything spoil our moment." Ethan beamed, pulling Sarah back into the conversation. She wasn't sure if she had the strength to be the anchor for them all while she felt adrift herself. As the night wore on, Sarah helped brainstorm poster ideas, jokes, and titles for the acts they would host. Laughter filled her lungs like fresh air, yet her thoughts hovered just around the corner. Dread mixed with anticipation. She couldn't help but wonder what revelations lay ahead. Would Eddie come with answers or more questions? Later, when they finally settled down for the night, Sarah lay in bed, her mind racing. The vibrant ideas for the show swirled alongside memories of better times with Eddie. She tried to focus on what lay ahead, to nurture the hope that this meeting could be a new beginning. But doubt flickered in the corners of her mind, like shadows lurking just beyond the light. The clock ticked ominously on her bedside table, each second stretching the space between now and tomorrow. What would she say? How could she move forward after everything? As she turned off the light, the darkness felt thick around her. She hoped to wake up with clarity, but deep down, she sensed the storm was edging ever closer. There was so much at stake, their past was woven together with threads of love and pain. Could they untangle it? Could they find a way back to each other? With those questions haunting her, she surrendered to sleep, her heart a blend of hope and fear. But would that courage shine through when she faced Eddie again? Morning light filtered through the curtains, casting warm patterns on the bedroom wall. Sarah stretched, her body reluctantly emerging from deep slumber. The impending meeting with Eddie loomed heavy in her thoughts, neither clarity nor peace in sight. The day felt charged with potential, but her heart thudded in cautious rhythm, like a drummer waiting for a cue. She prepared herself, physically and emotionally, for the cafe meeting. The smell of coffee wafted through the air as she brewed a fresh pot, the rich aroma momentarily drowning out her racing thoughts. Each sip was like a lifeline, grounding her amidst the swirling chaos in her mind. Time ticked on and the countdown to 2 o'clock felt agonizingly slow. Worry mingled with memories of Eddie, how easy it used to be to talk to him, how laughter once filled the air when they were together. But what would he look like now? Would the weight of regret seep through in every word? She shook her head, pushing back the nerves that threatened to spiral out of control. As she drove to the cafe, the familiar streets felt heavier than usual, memories brushing against her like ghosts. She parked, her hands trembling slightly as she gripped the steering wheel. Gathering her thoughts, Sarah took a deep breath, filling her lungs with air as if it could cleanse her of the apprehension swirling inside. Inside the cafe, the chatter of patrons buzzed around her. A barista steamed milk while someone at the corner table scrolled through their phone, occasional laughter echoing off the walls. There he was, sitting at a table, Eddie, looking older and wearier than she remembered, yet unmistakably him. Her heart pounded. Was it hope or dread that coursed through her veins? She approached cautiously, as if stepping onto fragile ground. "Eddie," she greeted, her voice quieter than she'd meant it to be. "Sarah." His eyes lit up with a mix of surprise and longing. It felt like a lifetime since they'd shared space. He gestured to the empty chair across from him. "Can we talk?" "Of course," she replied, settling into her seat but feeling as if she was perched on the edge of a precipice. For a moment, they stared at each other, years of untold stories hanging heavily in the air. Finally, the barista delivered her cappuccino, breaking the tension. Eddie took a deep breath, his gaze shifting down to the table. I've missed you," he started, and that simple admission was like a weight lifting slightly, yet a cloud followed that sunshine. "I know things have been hard. For both of us." "Hard doesn't even begin to cover it," she said, surprised at how her words came out sharper than she intended. But the truth hung there, unvarnished. He nodded, the shame evident in his expression. "I messed things up, Sarah. I ran away instead of facing my problems. I understand if you're angry." "Angry?" "Yes," she admitted, the flame of hurt flickering in her chest. "But also confused. I need to know why." "Why now?" Eddie's eyes met hers, raw and vulnerable. "I've been working on myself, and I realize that I can't keep pretending everything's okay. I want to be honest. I think I owe you that much." Sarah's heart quickened at the honesty in his voice. Part of her craved to hear him out, to understand all the cracks that had formed between them. But another part trembled with the fear that the truths he would share might only deepen the wounds. "What do you want from me, Eddie?" she asked gently, but the tremor in her voice betrayed her. He hesitated, the uncertainty crackling between them like static. But before he could respond, a child's laughter broke through the noise of the cafe, a reminder of what they once shared, and what they could still rebuild. "What am I willing to lose, and what am I willing to fight for?" Sarah thought to herself, grappling with the questions poised in the space between them. Then Eddie opened his mouth, and the words hanging over them held the potential to shatter or heal. Would they mend what had been broken, or was it too late? The moment stretched, a fragile thread pulled taut between them. Sarah leaned in slightly, her heart racing, aware that every breath was charged with the weight of the past and the flicker of hope for the future. Eddie finally spoke, his voice low but steady. "I've been seeing someone, a therapist. I'm trying to figure out why I've always run away from what matters," he admitted, his gaze locking onto hers like he was anchoring himself to a lifeboat in stormy seas. "You were always what mattered." She blinked, taken aback by his candor. The combination of shock and curiosity flooded her system. You had a chance to confront those problems before, Eddie. Why not then? The question slipped out, edged with both challenge and a desperate plea for understanding. He looked down, clearly wrestling with his demons. I was scared and honestly, I didn't know if I deserved a second chance. When things got tough, I just shut down and left. His voice cracked ever so slightly. I ran because facing the truth was terrifying. But now I see that the truth isn't so easy to escape. Sarah felt her heart twist. The boy she once knew had open scars, and yet here he was, standing amidst them, trying to face the ghosts of what they'd built together. Memories flickered past, filled with weekends spent laughing, the warmth of safety in each other's arms, the moments that had once felt invincible. She had thought those days were lost, buried beneath the weight of confusion and silence. What do you want from me, Eddie? You say you're changing, but change is hard. It's not like flipping a switch, she said, emotions bubbling to the surface. I don't want to be your safety net or the person you run to when it gets overwhelming again. Eddie nodded, his eyes shining with a mixture of hope and regret. I know, he said softly. But I want to fight for us if you think there's anything left worth fighting for. The way he said it sent a shiver through her. Questions tumbled in her mind, tumbling around like ping-pong balls. Could she trust that this was more than just words? Did she want to trust? Could she risk herself again, nudging open the door after so long? Her eyes fell to the table. It's been years, Eddie. Can you really change that much? He leaned closer, voice barely above a whisper. I'm willing to fight, Sarah. I realize now I can't do it alone. I just want the chance to show you I'm different. A warmth spread through her, mixing with the hesitation that still held firm. She wanted to believe him. But trust was a delicate thing, frayed and worn around the edges. What if it doesn't work again? His expression softened, revealing the depth of his vulnerability. Then at least we'll know we tried together. There was something in his tone, a quiet determination that echoed in her own heart. She felt the pull of hope battling with her lingering doubt. Could love stand in the balance of bravery and fear? As the cafe bustled around them, she was taken by the profound silence that seemed to surround their table. Sarah's thoughts raced, grappling with the potential of what lay ahead. Could they reassemble the pieces of the life they'd once dreamed of? Or were they simply chasing shadows? Let me think, she finally replied, needing to catch her breath in the whirlwind of emotions tethering her to him. Of course, he replied, two simple words weighed with earnestness. They exchanged a look, one full of a promise wrapped in uncertainty. In the haze of uncertainty, she was struck by a thought that felt jarring yet illuminating. What if this was the start of something new? As they sat there, the sounds of laughter and chatter faded into the background. Sarah's heart thrummed like a drum, and she couldn't ignore the pull of possibility. But then the cafe door swung open, a gust of wind carrying with it a figure from their past, someone who, unbeknownst to her, would shift everything once again. The tension tightened again in her chest, her gut twisting with apprehension. Who was it? Would this presence change everything they were beginning to reconstruct, or would it destroy the fragile thread they had just started to weave back together? The cafe door swung wide, and in stepped a familiar silhouette, framed by the bright afternoon light. Her heart dropped as she recognized Mia, Eddie's childhood best friend, the one who had once bonded over late-night secrets and dreams of futures untold. A once lively friendship that had turned sour when Eddie had walked away without so much as a goodbye. Mia's eyes darted between Sarah and Eddie, her expression shifting from surprise to cautious inquiry. There was a moment of frozen silence, as if the world outside paused to give weight to the unspoken history hanging heavy in the air. Eddie. Mia finally broke the stillness, her voice tinged with disbelief. Is that really you? Hey, Mia, Eddie managed, his voice strained but attempting to sound casual. He made a half-hearted wave, but the unease was palpable. Sarah, sitting across from him, felt a wave of possessiveness wash over her. She was about to respond when Eddie's fingers brushed against hers, a small gesture that sent a spark of comfort through her own doubts. Mia took a step closer, her brow furrowed with concern. "I didn't expect to see you here. Not after everything." She hesitated, glancing at Sarah with a mixture of sympathy and suspicion. "We were just talking," Sarah interjected, her tone sharper than she intended. "About the past. And the future." "It's good to see you," Eddie said, maybe a little too earnestly. "I've been working through my stuff. I hope you're well." Mia's gaze softened, revealing a hint of the warmth they once shared. "I'm okay. Life has had its ups and downs. I actually came here because," she hesitated again, biting her lip. "Because I heard that you were back in town, and I thought, well, maybe it was time to reconnect." The room felt smaller, the chatter of the cafe fading into a dull background hum as they caught up. A tender undertone flooded the space, fragile like the ice on a pond at spring melt. Sarah's heart raced, torn between the yearning for their past and concern over how it would impact the fragile thread she and Eddie were trying to weave back together. Mia looked directly at Sarah, a knowing gaze that spoke volumes. "I know things were complicated. But if you're both trying to work things out, I just want to say I'm here for you." "Thank you," Sarah said, the kindness in Mia's voice unexpectedly bolstering. Eddie shifted in his seat, bringing attention back to him. "What about you, Mia? Any relationships going on?" She laughed softly, tucking a loose strand of hair behind her ear. "Not really. Just focusing on my painting these days." A shadow crossed her face, a hint of sadness in her eyes. "But who would have thought running into you two would stir up so many memories?" The nostalgia hung thick in the air, unspoken truths lingering beneath the surface. Each of them danced around what could be, each searching for the right cue to step forward or step back. As Sarah observed Eddie and Mia's connection, the shared jokes, the unfiltered warmth, she felt the ground beneath her shift. Was she ready to plunge into the depths of shared histories, or would Mia's unexpected presence unravel everything she was trying to build with Eddie? "Hey, maybe we should all get together sometime," Eddie suggested, his enthusiasm masking the tension lurking beneath. "I think it could be good for everyone." Hesitation gripped Sarah. Was that wise? Did she want her journey with Eddie to unfold under the scrutiny of their intertwined past? Mia's eyes sparkled with a hint of mischief, but there was something deeper there, a connection to the boy she had once cherished as well. The air around them thickened, charged with unresolved feelings. "Sounds great," Mia said, her cheer attempting to break through the heaviness. "Just let me know when." As they sat there, the weight of collective histories crowded in, threatening to crush the delicate hope that had been blossoming just moments before. Eddie turned to Sarah, his eyes searching hers, a silent inquiry hanging between them. "What now?" Sarah felt the pull of uncertainty, heart racing as she considered their next steps. Did reconnecting with the past bring them closer or create an insurmountable barrier? She glanced back at Mia, who seemed blissfully unaware of the turmoil brewing in her heart. The cafe buzz around them faded once more, leaving Sarah in a whirlwind of emotions. What would this mean for them all? As the comfort of familiarity mixed with the anxiety of potential disruption, one thought echoed louder than the rest: could they really move forward, or were they packed with burdens from the past, ready to be unleashed once more? "Let me think about it," she finally said, feeling the gravity of her decision settle heavily on her shoulders. The chatter in the cafe began to creep back in, filling the gaps left by the heavy silence that had momentarily wrapped around them. Sarah felt the tension lingering like an unwelcome guest, refusing to settle comfortably in the corners of their reunion. She was mentally tracking every flicker of Mia's eyes, every shift in Eddie's posture, wondering if they could really navigate this complicated nostalgia without breaking something else. "So, what's out the best place to reconnect?" Mia asked, her voice light yet distinctly searching. There was a flicker of hope in Eddie's smile that Sarah found both reassuring and unsettling. "Maybe a picnic?" Eddie suggested, his enthusiasm barely cloaking the anxiety threading through his words. It'd be a nice way to catch up without so many eyes on us. A picnic sounds lovely. Mia replied, her excitement bubbling over. We could go to the park by the lake. It's beautiful this time of year. And we could even bring some of your favorite snacks. Sarah cringed a little at the mention of favorite snacks. Did Mia really remember those? The memories flickered in her mind like a slideshow of sun-drenched afternoons and carefree laughter. It felt both good and bad, reminding her of the moments that had been theirs alone. Sure, let us do that, Eddie agreed, his eyes lighting up. I can bring the sandwiches, and Sarah can bring dessert. His glance held a question, would she be okay with this? Sounds great, she responded, forcing a smile. But inside, doubt boiled. Was dessert all she was meant to contribute? The weight of it made her suddenly restless. Perfect. Mia's enthusiasm rang clear, cutting through Sarah's apprehensions. Moving as if rehearsed, Mia reached into her bag and pulled out a small sketchbook. What do you think about me bringing my art too? I always find inspiration enjoying nature. Art. It was a common thread in the past. Eddie and Mia used to share sketches, playful critiques on each other's art. Sarah had often felt like an outsider during those moments, watching them share a language she wasn't a part of. Now, that unease crept back. Why don't we move to the park now? Sarah blurted, her heart racing. We can grab snacks and head out before it gets late. The urgency in her voice surprised even her. Right now? Eddie asked, glancing at the cafe's clock. Are you sure you're up for it? Yes, Sarah insisted, locking eyes with Mia. I think it'd be nice to do something spontaneous. Mia's smile faltered but quickly returned, rendering her even brighter, as if to reassure Sarah that she was all in. Eddie sighed, his gaze wavering between the two of them, exchanging silent words of uncertainty. Okay then. Picnic it is. He was trying his best to keep things light, but Sarah could see it the way his mind spiraled with unknowns. As they stepped out of the cafe, the sun painted the street in brilliant yellows and oranges. Sarah took a deep breath of the crisp air, trying to shake off the lingering doubts. The park was just a few blocks away, each step heavy with anticipation. But as they walked, she couldn't help but think about what reconnecting truly meant. Was it a harmony long lost or simply a fragile accord? With every laugh and shared glance exchanged between Eddie and Mia, she felt herself teeter on a tightrope of trust and insecurity. Suddenly, Mia's laughter rang out, catching Sarah off guard. Come on, admit it. You're just as nervous as I am. A chuckle escaped Sarah's lips, her tension momentarily dissolving. Okay, maybe I am. But if we play this right, it could be fun. Absolutely, fun. Eddie echoed, his hand brushing against Sarah's as they strolled. It felt like a promise, but she wondered, could they really weave their way back into something beautiful without getting caught up in the chaos of past emotions? Just as they rounded the final corner to the park, a thought flickered in Sarah's mind, what if the past wasn't something to avoid, but something to embrace and learn from? With the sun setting before them, she realized that the stakes were high. But as uncertainty coiled tightly in her stomach, an unexpected question surfaced: was she brave enough to face what lay ahead, even if it meant letting go of the past she once clung to? As they approached the grassy expanse, laughter ringing out in the air, one thought loomed darkly in her mind: what if this was just the beginning of a tangled web that could ensnare them all once more? The sun dipped low in the sky, casting a warm glow over the park. Sarah stepped onto the soft grass, the aromas of spring blooming in the air, yet her heart fluttered with uncertainty. They set up their picnic beneath an oak tree, its branches reaching wide, a protective presence against the worries she still held. Eddie unfurled the blanket while Mia unpacked the snacks, their laughter and lightness reminding Sarah of glimmering memories she had tucked away. Still, a weight hung in the air, an unspoken tension swirling among them. Can't believe we're finally doing this, Mia said, her voice bright as she spread out the goodies. It's been ages, right? Too long, Eddie replied, a sense of nostalgia coating his words. Sarah observed the way they shared a comfortable rhythm, effortlessly falling back into the natural groove of friendship. Moments later, the picnic began to take shape, their shared banter filling the gaps of what had once been familiar. As they settled on the blanket, Sarah felt the ghost of doubts lingering, nagging at her conscience. She glanced at Eddie, and in his eyes, she saw both hesitation and hope. It was the latter that ultimately beckoned her deeper into the moment. They had begun to reconnect, and now, standing at the edge of past and future, the question remained, what would they choose? Okay, since we're doing this, Sarah said, her voice shaky but resolute, let us talk about the past. The statement hung heavy in the air, and she braced herself for the circuitous path ahead. Eddie's smile faded slightly, but determination settled on his features. I've been thinking about it too. How I left it wasn't fair to any of us. Why did you go? Mia asked gently, her curiosity balancing on concern. You never really explained. I thought running away would solve my problems, Eddie admitted, anger and regret simmering just below the surface. But it didn't. I just stuffed everything down instead. I let everyone down, especially you, Sarah. I'm really sorry. Sarah felt her heart twist. The ache of betrayal surged anew, but tangled in it was an understanding one that came from shared struggles. It wasn't just you who felt lost, Eddie, she said quietly. I was drowning too. I kept pretending everything was fine. If only I'd known how to reach out, maybe we wouldn't be here. Mia's gaze darted between them, and an air of solidarity began to weave itself into the conversation. We're not here to dwell on hurt, but to find a way forward, she said, her voice a soft anchor. I've missed you both. Me too, Eddie said, his voice strong. But I don't want to just pick up where we left off. I want to create something new together. What would that look like? Sarah asked, the rawness of their history still casting shadows in her heart. Maybe it starts with honestly sharing our failures and learning from them, Eddie said. The trepidation in his voice reflected the complexity of the situation, the weight of years almost palpable in the gathering dusk. I want to be better for myself, and for us if you'll have me. I'm here. We're all here, Mia affirmed, a sense of conviction threading into her words. Trust is fragile, Eddie, Sarah stressed, but hope edged through her voice. But it's built on open communication and support. How do you propose we start? Eddie took a deep breath. Let us set aside some time every week, no distractions, just us. Each person can share their week, the good and the bad. Let us carve out a place where vulnerability isn't met with judgment. It's a place to support each other. She glanced at Mia, who nodded enthusiastically. I'd love that, she said, excitement twinkling in her eyes. A family circle, with each of us having a voice. Sarah felt a swell of warmth. I think this could be the beginning of something beautiful, she said softly, the words growing easier as she spoke. As the sun began to set, painting the world in hues of orange and gold, Sarah felt the cloud of doubt lift ever so slightly. It wasn't a cure-all, but a crack in the facade that had kept her heart cloaked in worry. In that beautiful light, a new vision began to take shape, the three of them, intertwined in paths of courage, vulnerability, and rebuilding. This is our story, Mia said, a radiant smile breaking free. And it's not over yet. Sarah watched as the last rays of sunshine danced amid the branches above them and began to feel hopeful again. They were starting anew, not erasing the past but embracing it, finding the light in shared experiences. Her heart swelled with fierce love for the community around her. It might be messy, she said, looking at both of them, but I'm willing to take that risk. As laughter and conversation flowed anew, she realized healing is not linear. It would ebb and flow like the ever-changing sky. But with each moment spent together, they could learn to cherish the connections that bound them, a promise to honor the past while stepping into a promising future. And as the sun dipped beneath the horizon, casting a soft, tranquil glow around them, Sarah knew one thing: they were on the cusp of something incredible. The weight of uncertainty began to dissipate, and hope filled the spaces left behind. This was their chance. Let us make it count. As they began to unpack more moments, Sarah felt a surge of joy ripple through her. The journey would not be easy, but it was theirs to share, woven with trust, laughter, and a renewed commitment to one another. And in that moment, she felt an incredible sense of peace. You need to subscribe now to follow this exhilarating journey as it unfolds. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help spread this inspiring message. Comment your thoughts and feelings about this transformative experience and how it impacted you. Don't wait not even one more second to share this story with at least 5 friends who need to see the power of second chances. Let's spread hope together.